just one of those weeks where there are, a ton of big-time matchups taking place this week in college football. So I am excited to talk about it. We will dive right in, and we will begin with the Thursday nighter taking place this week to get it going. Army and East Carolina. East Carolina, 5.5-point home favorites, 52.5 the total. Well, I think I've had my fill of East Carolina after last week. I'm not sure I'm rushing to get excited about backing them here, laying 5.5 against Army. To say disappointing would be an understatement to describe East Carolina's performance against BYU last weekend. That was obviously a rough game for them. It was a rough offensive game for certainly Caton Hauser and the Pirates. Play calling, I can't fathom for the life of me how we throw a pass right at the end of the first half down by our own goal line, and it gets picked and returned for a touchdown. That was the play. That totally changed the game. East Carolina was dead as a fucking doornail from that point on. BYU is just a brutal, brutal play call at the end of the half. You're still in the game, even though your offense is struggling. Just run it out and get to halftime. That is so disappointing from East Carolina as far as their decision-making there at the end of the first half. And it cost them because really that game, BYU was already in control. But at least at that time, you had a chance, to maybe still hang in that game and have a chance to win it. And unfortunately, like I said, it was just a dismal play call there right at the end of the half, and it ends up costing East Carolina. The offense struggled. The defense obviously got worn out later in the game, and East Carolina was able to, BYU's offense was able to make them pay. Meanwhile, you've got Army coming off this really exhausting, physically especially, real physically exhausting war with North Texas, where they fall behind big early. They were down 21-0 in that game at one point. But somehow after that, they get their offense going, and they really didn't get stopped by North Texas the rest of the game. Army almost scored on every possession the rest of the way. They ended up getting back into it. They ended up coming all the way back and getting a field goal at the end of the fourth quarter to tie the game at 38 and force overtime. But North Texas scores on their first overtime possession, and Army gets stopped on their possession in overtime. And North Texas survives with a 45-38 win over Army. And thankfully, because I was on North Texas, it was one of my bets I really liked on the card, and they were able to hang on. But it was an exhausting game. A lot of snaps for on the field, especially for that Army offense. And you wonder now, going on the road on a short week, coming off the physical toll that they likely incurred from that North Texas game that went to overtime. You worry about that on a short week here for this Army Black Knights team. And East Carolina's defense, at least a little bit against the run, has been better so far this season. So this is kind of a tough one. I mean, situationally, I think there's things to like about East Carolina. But if that offense isn't any better than what I saw last week, and the play calling's not any better, laying 5.5 is not exactly something I'm excited about doing. So it's not a game I have a particularly strong opinion on, at least early in the week. C-Mac, what do you think? Army, East Carolina.
Yeah, I don't too. I think that game, I thought the pick was huge right before. Because, when I was looking, even watching the game, and the stats are pretty close in that game against BYU. And BYU did take care of it late. I have to give them that. And they had a couple big plays, big run for touchdown to end the game. But Hauser, you can't settle for field goals. You can't throw picks. They're moving the ball, and they just couldn't. Yeah, just horrible at home. I thought they played a lot better. But shout out to BYU for going there and playing well. Yeah, Army can't. For getting down, they do what they do, run the ball. So maybe North Texas not the best defense. Kind of ran all over them in this game. I think it's a bounce back for ECU. I think they're going to be able to move the ball here on Army.
Yes. That Army defense is not good. It's not good. Texas did what they wanted. Yep.
And take care of the ball. I think their team total here is live. And I don't know. I don't think their defense is great either, is East Carolina a little bit right now. So even though they've been a little bit better against the run, I think Army could still have some success. So, yeah, this is a tough one. But I was looking at East Carolina. I think they could get their points maybe if you don't want to lay the 4.5. I got to think they play better. Second game at home here, or they just lose. Even on the short week, you got to think they're pissed off, especially on these standalone games. You know what I mean? only game Thursday night. Place should be rocking. So I'm looking at East Carolina here, their team total.
Yeah, no doubt.
Maybe the over gets there. I don't know.
I do lean over.
Right.
I do. I think maybe with the total I get there, because here's the what you worry about with Army is obviously limited possessions, fewer possessions, take time off.
Yeah, no big runs sometimes, and you just get bottled down. Yeah, the clock just ticks. Yeah.
But they're moving the ball. I was impressed. Like, North Texas has a much better defense this year. And then once they stopped turning it over, Army, early in the game, they drove the ball every possession against North Texas, and they scored on almost every possession. And that's a much better North Texas defense. So I give Army credit. And I said East Carolina's overall defensive numbers have been better this year, for sure. But there's still some concerns. You know, they did give up 172 rushing yards to BYU in that game last week. You know, so, and, you know, you don't have obviously the extra time to prepare for Army for this game. And you look back at last year, these teams played, obviously their AAC conference foes, 45 points allowed. Now, that was the great Bryson Daly Army team, but still, East Carolina had obviously a lot of problems stopping Army last year in a 45-28 loss. So I think the over could be there. It could be in play for this game on Thursday night.